Hello there guys, it's Joey. So I thought I'd get a couple of videos done while I have 5 minutes. It's going to be longer than that, but you know what I mean. Spare before I have to get going again. So there've been not as many videos this week as I had hoped because life is insane. Basically. It's a little bit busy, a little bit crazy, still settling in, still figuring things out, still health stuff, so there's that. So this particular video, I was tagged by Miss Lippy Witch to talk about the idea of a pagan school and what you want to see in a pagan school and maybe what you would teach in a pagan school and that sort of thing. So I thought I'd do this in two ways. I'd do the one that I would probably teach and the one that I would want to be taught, if that makes sense. The one that I would probably teach, just to make sure it was in the curriculum, is I'd probably go about a witchcraft history, because I think that it's super important to actually investigate what actually happened in the history of witchcraft, because I think when we talk about the history of witchcraft we get rose-tinted glasses on very often, and we talk about a kind of witch history that is kind of fabricated, kind of just didn't exist. For most of history people didn't want to be called witches, and you know, the term witch was a negative connotation. People were afraid of being called a witch, and that's part of, you know, why we reclaim the word now. And throughout time you had your healers, your village healers, your midwives, your shamanistic role types, and they had different names within different cultures. And I think it would be an interesting part of any witch class to sort of go back and look at the different archetypes, look at the different history, as well as acknowledging some of the violent history, because I think it would be important to actually look at witch trials. You know, we say witch trials and people automatically think Salem, but there were more witch trials in Europe than there were anywhere else. There were an awful lot of burnings and hangings in Europe, and it's a really frightening point in history. And they call them the witch trials, but were any of them actually witches? Probably not. And there were male and females that were tried as witches and stoned to death and burnt and hung and all the rest of it. So it's not just a female only thing, and that always is something that I really feel keen to point out, that, you know, quite a lot of them are like, oh, the women that died. It's like, there were men too, men died too. You can see this in the records even of the deaths, which are pretty accessible. So if I was to do a class, I would get on my history and my love of history, which is something that I adore and I think is really important and really interesting from my perspective. So I would be the boring ghost at Hogwarts. Ooh. In terms of what I would like to be taught, I think it would be really wonderful if there was a herbalism class where they took everybody out and like taught people to recognize herbs and plants and flowers in the wild, so to speak, and talked about medicinal use and like what you can use different plants and herbs and trees and things for, because this is something that I'm slowly teaching myself now, like recognizing things out in the wild, making sure I know which different plants and things are, as well as finally now being able to grow my own, so I can get a feel of what it's like to actually grow herbs and plants and things. So I'm slowly going through this myself, and it's a labour of love, but it is a labour, because okay, what's that? and if you're lucky, you've got something on you can take a picture and you can go look it up and go investigate, and then you're looking at medicinal properties and so on and so forth. So if I was going to be taught something, that's what I would like to be taught. I think herbalism is something that I am going to be investigating more and more as I go forward anyway, in that side of things. Obviously I have a solid grounding in the, oh gosh, the lighting, a solid grounding in the magical side of things. I honestly can't believe it's moved that quickly. There you go. So that is my VR to the Lippy Witch, and if you want to do this tag, by all means, and many blessings.